Hello, we're live. Hello and welcome, Gautam.
Hey, Robert. Hi. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks everyone for joining in. A quick reminder, a bit of household items before we start with Gautam. Yeah, we do these live streams every week on Thursday at 4 p.m. Central European Time and at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We stopped for a few weeks. We had a few holidays, but yeah, we're back. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can also ask any questions live, and we reply to them. If you are watching a recorded version of this talk, you can always send us any questions at questions@mapress.com, and we'll get back to you. So yeah, we have a special guest today, Gautam from Seahawk. Um, let's start maybe with a quick introduction about you, Gautam.
Hey, so thank you for inviting me to this, Robert. For all those who don't know me, I'm Gautam. I'm the co-founder of Seahawk Media and COO. I've been making websites for almost 6.5, 7 years now. I live in the UK, in London. I moved here 4 years ago, indefinitely, with my wife and my dog. Now I have a baby, and
Congratulations.
thank you so much. My dog and my baby are a handful, and the holidays in the UK and Europe are helping now. Finally, as you know,
Yeah, I can definitely.
hopefully the weather will help me more, and finally getting used to it.
Yeah, I
And
was going to say because yeah, India it depends which region, but yeah, mostly it's much warmer, right, in general.
yes, exactly. And just to give everybody a brief, quick introduction on Seahawk Media. We are now a 70 plus people organization, but we were just two people, Ryan and Gautam, and we just had one or two people. By the way, my co-founder Ryan, he lives in Miami. I live in the UK. Not ashamed to say I speak with him more than my wife every single day. That's how you grow businesses, I guess. And but the thing is, like, the quick summary is that we met 6 years ago, and that too thanks to GoDaddy. GoDaddy had a program called GoDaddy Pro program. We were both part of the program, and long story short, we met each other, we married our companies, and we've been growing exponentially every year. And it's been a very interesting journey from two people to 70 plus people, and our team is all over the world. We are a remote organization. I'm in the UK. A lot of our team is spread all over India, and now we have a lot of people from Africa as well, concentrated in Nigeria. Some of them are from Kenya, Tanzania, a lot of other places, and we are hiring every month. And our core focus is everything around the love of WordPress and the WordPress ecosystem.
Nice to hear. Definitely, it's always nice to hear like these type of stories. So you didn't know your co-founder before you started like, the whole Godly thing and whatever. This
Oh,
is someone you
so
knew from before, kind of, or
so Ryan actually was working out of his college dorm room. Okay, and I did not know him then. And I had my own agency called the Site Cook, and that was the name in India. And yeah, we did not know each other at that time, and we just started working and making websites. So I was actually playing with Magento, OpenCart, and all of those, technologies at that time. And I also was handling a lot of social media accounts on my own, along with my wife. And, she was helping me a lot also. And we were doing some PPC, etc. We were just trying to figure this out, this digital marketing game, and we were not hyper focused. And then GoDaddy happened. And GoDaddy actually I've joined this program, and GoDaddy in India was really scaling up. And GoDaddy in India gave me an award. They actually posted a picture of me on Instagram with this
nice.
award. And Ryan found me because of Instagram. He messaged me, DM'd me. We started talking. And long story short, without even meeting each other, we just joined forces. And then, it's been
Nice.
six, it's been exactly 6 years as of March 2025. And I'm very excited for the next 6 years. Yeah.
Nice, interesting. Just maybe not WordPress specific. I, you have a so basically you have a co-founder. Like, are there like any? I'm sure there are other people like you who might have their
Mhm.
own agency. They might be a bit maybe scared or dubious about growing, or maybe need an extra hand. Like, what are like? Are there like any specific benefits, or like would you recommend definitely having a co-founder? Like, how does it work for you? No, it's quite
Oh,
interesting.
a good one. A good one. I'll tell
Yeah.
you why. So here's the thing. Getting a co-founder especially in the agency world. Now, whether you're a website development agency, marketing agency, social media agency, one thing is for sure, you're going to have arguments all the time. Now, are those bad arguments or are those constructive arguments? That's the thing. So 98% of the arguments are very constructive arguments. The 2% non-constructive arguments, eventually you figure out a way as to talk about that, not during work hours when you're walking your dog or having dinner or something like that. But they're bound to happen. But there are advantages and advantages. There are not very, very rarely there'll be disadvantages, because you can grow exponentially and you can grow really quickly, because you can take care of certain departments. Okay, like I will focus on my departments, Ryan will focus on his departments. And then now, because we're 70 people, we know, okay, 20-30 people are reporting to me, 20-30 people are reporting to Ryan, and stuff like that. So accountability is established. And for example, we have very strong SOPs in place, but I'm not an SOP guy. Okay, that's all Ryan's department. I'm the money guy. I bring dollars in the company. Okay, so that's where my core focus is, and we don't interfere in each other's work, and we both trust each other, and that's how it works. And I think that's one example I'm giving. Okay, so let's say you're a full functional marketing agency making websites, social media marketing, Facebook management, etc. And you have 2 people or 3 people in the organization. And I know a lot of agency owners because we work with a lot of agencies. We'll get into that in a little while. And believe me, like, it makes absolute sense. Don't think about making less personal cash initially. If you can just survive in the initial years, it's okay, because in the long run you can be a 7-figure agency. And proud to say we are now a 7-figure agency.
Nice, interesting. Yeah, I think, yeah, 2 points on what you mentioned. Like, yeah, the co-founder, I think maybe some tips definitely, because sometimes as a founder it feels a bit lonely, of course. So having a co-founder, you have someone
That's
with
true.
whom you can share your burden or whatever and your problems. And in regards to money, I agree with you. Like, I mean, I think based on my experience as well and on what I've read, is like it's important. Of course, you are working for money, but it's important to find something that you love doing. If you are doing it specifically for money, most probably you'll be better off doing something else, because if you're just doing it for money, yeah, it's yeah. But if it is something that you love, especially when you run a business or an agency, like you would deal with a lot of agencies, like any business, quite frankly, when you're dealing with customers, there are a lot of headaches. Like, some people don't agree with you, some people like what you do. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's a whole organic thing, always growing. So you must really love it. Otherwise, it's not. It's not if you're doing it just for money.
That is true. That is very true. See, at the end of the day, you're working because you want to make money and you want growth. The thing is, if $10,000-$20,000 a year is making you happy, and you're living on an island, remote part of the world, some suburb, you're happy with that, go for it. But if you want to make personally millions of dollars a year, then you have to really not think about quick money, to be very honest with you. And you have to really think exponentially, and out of the box, and that's what our purpose is. Like, whatever excess we earn, we just keep on reinvesting. We've been reinvesting over the last several years, and we have a couple of other, besides seahawkmedia.com, for example. We acquired a domain called wpservices.com last year.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's because, as the name suggests, WP services, so it's ancillary.
Of course.
We also have wptasks.com, TASKS, supporting other agencies who want to hire people, and not hire internally, sorry, they want to hire somebody from Asia or some other countries, etc., at a fraction of the cost. So we're reinvesting. Long story short, we are reinvesting. So if you are an agency thinking of starting an agency, you have to constantly reinvest, in human resources.
Yes.
We have to invest in human resources. That's the biggest part.
I mean, you cannot grow. I mean, you can only stretch yourself so much. You need people, and it's very important. Something that you mentioned. I think, yeah, of course, work for money, but money is the byproduct of doing something that you love.
Exactly.
Otherwise, if you're doing it for money, most probably, based on my experience, based on what is going to go wrong. And something else, maybe one last tip, especially with co-founders, which I have a friend actually who co-founded the company with 4 people, and he mentioned something that you mentioned as well, which is very important. Is that even though we are 4 co-founders, we agreed upfront who's going to be the CEO, who's going to be the marketing manager, so we don't step on each other's toes. I know everyone owns 25%, but everyone has their own role. Otherwise, you'll be like, oh, I have this opinion on this, and everyone starts
True.
and that kind of creates a lot of more friction and arguments, which you don't need, because even when things are going well, as you said, you will always have some heated discussions and stuff, because there are things, which is good, quite frankly, because you don't want yes people. If you want yes people, yeah, it's not interesting enough, and you won't grow, right?
Yes, yes, that's true. But you know what? I think there are huge advantages. There are other advantages also. Even if you're in different countries or different cities. For example, Ryan and me are in different countries, but we meet each other several times a year, 4, 6 times a year. Now, for example, WordCamp coming up. You're visiting WordCamp, right?
Yes,
WordCamp
yes.
Dallas.
Are you?
Of course,
Nice. So
yes.
we'll
We
meet there,
we
definitely. Definitely.
absolutely, absolutely. And WordCamps is such an amazing opportunity, for not only for Ryan and me to regroup together in person. We obviously, spend few days before or after or the case might be. You obviously explore new towns, new cities. That's one part of the equation. But you obviously talk business nonstop. You're catching up on things which you are not catching up on the usual Slack huddles and WhatsApp calls. So, and obviously, when you are down a couple of beers, in the evening, of course, then you talk real business. Then you talk the
Yes.
real real ideas and new things. Like I think one of the best ideas which we have spoken about and implemented are in person when we are meeting or when we are doing our team meetups in India or something like that, for example. So we do that quite a lot, and I think having co-founders, and even if they're in different cities and countries, and it's tough to find. I know it's very, very tough to find the right people, but if you can, it's the best thing to do. And I would say
Yeah.
100% say go for it.
Nice, nice. Something related to agencies as well. I know we haven't jumped into WordPress yet, but it's fine. Maybe we can have another
Yeah,
session.
yeah.
But yeah. So are you remote as well, like a full remote company, or do you have offices?
No, we used to have an office before COVID at a WeWork in Gurgaon, India. We used to have a two-seater office in Boston as well when Ryan was in Boston. But after COVID, everything changed. The whole world dynamics changed.
Yes.
Now, remote working actually worked to our advantage. I'll tell you why. Two big reasons. One, we saved office space, seat cost, of course. The seat cost is not only like $100 a desk. It's actually, if you consider other expenses, and also consider time. Now, for example, a lot of our teammates were in India. Commuting because of traffic could be an issue, right? So the time saving one way is 1.5 hours. Back home could be even 2 hours sometimes. Now, the team, they're happy to devote those 1 or 2 hours extra on work, or improving their skills, etc. So cost saving for that, time saving, and most importantly, I think we have access to a much bigger talent pool because we are getting talent from all over the world. We were restricted to hiring from one particular city, New Delhi, NCR. Now we are hiring from all over the world. So I don't think we will ever go back to an office kind of a thing. I would rather do more team meetups. We do that once or twice a year. And in fact, Ryan spends more time than me in India. He's single. I'm married. I have a kid.
That's different.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but we both do our best, to meet our teams and do team meetups or fly them into Delhi NCR or Mumbai, depending on the location we go. We work during the day. We party in the evening. So we do all of that also, and I think that's a very good culture. Just last year, by the way, we started hiring from the Africa continent, and I cannot say just good things about hiring from Africa as well. And our team in Africa now is like 20 plus people strong. So we have one person from Pakistan as well. And we have a couple of contractors. Sometimes, if required, we can access them from Poland or Bangladesh, etc. Also. So I think there are advantages, but of course you need very good systems. You need very strong SOPs. You need to check. You need to have a very very good HR manager. We are lucky to have a good HR manager in place to
Nice.
keep a tight ship. So I think
Nice.
there are more advantages to remote for these reasons.
Yes. We are a full remote company as well, and I think this applies. I mean,
Mm,
especially to any type of IT software companies like WordPress agencies. There are a lot of benefits. I personally, we've been a remote company from day one. It wasn't thought to
Wow.
be. It's just like I started on my own, and then gradually it started growing, and it became a remote business. But as you said, I think there are a few advantages. You have the expenses, of course, which instead we invest them in team meetups, as you said. And yeah, I think it's as you said, like you have a much wider pool of from where to recruit people. Like if you have an office in one city, especially like where I live in a small village called Wiegen in the Netherlands by the border, like how many people? I'm sure there are some technical people here, of course, and most probably because the Yoast SEO headquarters is nearby. But yeah, in general, you don't find people everywhere, and you are limited. You're going to ask people to travel, spend more time, spend more money. So yes, you have a bigger pool. So if you have an agency or something, yeah, and you're
By
still
the
getting
way,
started, yeah,
next time we should do this. We should try to do this again in person. I would take the train. Eurostar is just 3.5 hours to you.
yeah, exactly. No, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I mean, like we go since we used to live in Scotland. We go once every year or two to Scotland.
Yeah.
We get the ferry or the Euro, yeah, the Eurotunnel and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very easy. Yeah, but yeah, that's people won't realize. Like, I think personally, when you have an office, maybe in general you might move a bit faster and operations are a bit tighter, basically because you have more like you're there in the office and it's easier to get people together.
Yes, of course.
However, yes, like the advantage of having the option to recruit people from anywhere you'd like you have the whole world, so you're not restricted to a region of 3 hours drive by car.
Yeah,
You have the whole world, and that
I
makes a
think we
difference.
both agree there are more advantages than disadvantages. The
Yes,
disadvantage is there for sure. Like for example,
of course.
like we rely a lot on inbound leads for our direct business. Like we have direct business and we have B2B resellers, hosting companies using us, but we are really heavily invested in our inbound SEO work for our own site, Seahawk Media.
Yeah.
And to imagine this, if I'm sitting with my marketing manager, my content team, and I have these ideas coming in my brain, I have SEM Rush open, Ahrefs open, and I come up with these unique ideas and I want to implement something very quickly. Now I have to find that person, do a Google Hangout called Slack. But if they're sitting in the office right next to me, I can just tap on their shoulder. Do this.
Exactly.
Do this.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do this. Oh, it's 6
Yeah.
p.m. Don't worry about it. Let's grab some coffee or beers and let's just
Yeah.
do this. Make sure you do this before you get home.
Exactly. Yeah. And to be honest,
So,
it makes also as you said, like we do a team meetup once a year. To be honest, we're thinking of expanding it a bit. Like we do a whole team meetup once a year, but I'm thinking of maybe do another meetup just with the marketing team, another meetup just with developers, just to discuss more. But the team meetup we do so far is pure. We just had it last week, in fact, 2 weeks ago. We spent 4 days in Gautam on a small island. And yeah, like honestly, those 3 or 4 days, we didn't even mention work once, or maybe it becomes more, and it's nice because you start building a nice relationship because yeah, it is business. It's true. It's like they are colleagues, but without wanting, it's you are working with these people, as you said. Like you talk with some of these people more than you talk with your loved ones. It's the reality, And yeah, without wanting, you build a nice relationship, you build a friendship, and you see them in a different way. And yeah, and if you have a remote business, yeah, make sure you invest in team meetups because it makes a big difference.
I think,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, that is true. But you know what? In the initial days during COVID years, things were hard also sometimes. We lost a lot of our business also, because in the agency world, as you never know. It's unpredictable. Let's say we have a big client. Now that client went bust because of COVID. They can't pay us. What do you do then? So we could not do a lot of meetups also, if we did not have cash. So maybe in the initial years, you might not be able to do it if you're starting up or if you're a new agency. You're in the low 6 figures range, or you're not even in the 6 figures. It doesn't matter. The thing is, you need to be persistent, and you have Slack, so you can talk to people. You can at least, but make sure have the video on. I actually insist with my team actually to keep the video on as much as possible. Obviously, all the time you cannot do it, but video on, because at least when you have your videos on, you see the person in the eyes. You can relate to that person, and you can transfer energy to that person.
Yes,
So I always say that to have videos on at least.
yes, we do the same. It makes such a big difference. It makes such a big difference. Yes, and I agree with you. If you don't have the budget, it's fine. Start working slowly, be persistent, and hopefully it will come. Because team meetups are very valuable. But yeah, having the camera nowadays, it's all freely available. Have the video on, have a call, and it makes a big difference. In fact, this team meetup, we have someone who joined us in January. It was his first team meetup, and that's what he told me. Like, it makes such a big difference talking to people, even on video. But once you meet them in person and you spend 2-3 days non-transactional with them, it's not business. We're just going for a swim together.
I know.
It makes a big difference because you learn about them. Do they have children? What hobbies do they have? What music do they like? It's nice. It's
That's
nice.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Good. Let's jump a bit finally, a bit Nora, but anyway, into WordPress. So let's start a bit with security. So at Seahawk, you offer hacked website cleaning, also as a white label service, but also direct to
Yep.
customers. Setting a bit of security, like, what are the most common security issues or shortcomings you've seen
Oh,
in general on the websites? I'm sure you've seen a lot, but let's say the top three, for example, which are the most common issues you see.
first of all, I must tell you, I can't code shit. Okay. I have a great team in place. Okay. But I understand WordPress really well. And I'm proud to say, like, I understand the WordPress plugin ecosystem and I know the problems, etc. Because obviously, I started this company and then, Ryan and stuff like that, the co-founders now. I can tell you when it comes to hack sites and problems with website or speed, I think the biggest common cause is weak passwords, themes not being updated, plugins not being updated, people installing junky plugins which have not been updated in several years. These are the most common causes. The username being admin, I see that as a huge, huge cause. Weak passwords, and not having 2FA, having, nowadays there's so many good hosting providers. Now, if you have shared hosting and you're spending $2 a month on that hosting, and then your website is getting hacked every 15 days, it's your fault. Sorry to say that. But if you're on a managed WordPress hosting with a good, reliable provider, whether it's Pressable, Hostinger, Kinsta, whatever, your choice, it doesn't matter. I think you should be okay. And you get a lot of backups every day for free. A lot of people don't know this, And I think there's so many causes, endless and endless of them. But I think plugins, junky plugins is a huge, huge one. Actually, WordPress is trying to sort that out. WordPress.org is trying to, they're trying to sort
Yes,
it
clean a
out.
bit the repo. Yes.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of the, plugins which are not being updated and all of that. They're trying their best to do that. I respect that. But I think you would agree on that too, right? You
Yes,
don't
I
want you don't want your, any new thousands of new competitors popping up who are not even going to maintain it. They're actually spoiling the sanctity of the WordPress plugin ecosystem,
Yeah, in fact, I've
So
seen some numbers lately because there are, I think, around or a bit more than 60,000 free plugins on the .org, but in reality only, I think, I'm not sure. I don't want to say numbers because I'm not sure, but definitely not all of them have been updated in the last year or two. So it's like, in fact, at least now
I
we're seeing
know.
notices on WordPress like this plugin hasn't been updated in the last 2 years, or it's not compatible with this update. So at least we're seeing that type of, we are helping the users as well.
All I would say is whether you're an agency or a small medium business starting on your own in the WordPress ecosystem, is just keep everything updated. Use strong passwords, use 2FA, make sure you do regular backups. You can use companies like WP Umbrella, Blog Vault if you like. They just charge $2, $3 a month, but at least you have peace of mind.
Yeah.
And limit plugin use. Don't install plugins. I've seen this. I've done it myself when I was starting, and when I started my dance with WordPress, I installed 50 plugins just to see what's happening. And I think you should be good to go, right? I
Yes.
think what people play a lot. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think, as you were saying, like, I speak to a lot of people in the security industry, and similar to what you were saying, I mean, there are some complex, sophisticated attacks, but the most common by far are authentication problems, outdated software. If you weak passwords, not using 2FA, if you take care of just some basics, I think, I mean, like, you can do so much in terms of security, especially the more the website grows, the bigger it is, and the more functionality it provides. There's always more that you can do in terms of security. But if you start with a basic website, and if you just keep the software, but when we take the software, not just the website software, but also if you the administrator, you are using a laptop, whatever, like, keep all the software you're using up to date, including the plugins and themes. Use strong passwords, use 2FA, use some basic security hygiene. You pretty much
You
set.
should be good.
Yeah,
You should
exactly.
be good. And there's another thing which I've realized. A lot of people spend, like, we have a service called Hack Site Repair. People pay us to resolve issues, and we have a priority hack site repair, which is like $100 extra because people just want it done within 24 hours. Okay, obviously because their business is affected, they're getting leads, their WooCommerce store is down, whatever, and I I think that is continue is going to happen, if people are going to do that. But I think one thing I've realized is like in many cases, it's more expensive to actually resolve a hack site. It's easier to just rebuild a website, and that's why we have a rebuild service also. So it is. I'm bringing this topic up because I've seen this over and over and again that sometimes somebody's very old 2014, 2015 built WordPress website, you know, is broken beyond repair sometimes, and it happens because the theme which they bought on ThemeWise is not supported. They don't have the files. What do
Yeah,
you do
exactly.
then? Right now, even if you repair and it looks janky, what's the point of doing that? So it's better to just invest a little bit more, like a few $100s more, and you, whether it's any company, it could be a freelancer on Fiverr or Upwork or whatever you want. It might be just a better idea to just build a new one if you, especially you have not updated a website in more than 5 years. I think that's what I would recommend. 5 years is like a lot, and we come across that every single day, every single hour. I would say I come across websites like that where you have to open them on the phone and you have to like use your hands to see what says written because they don't even have a menu. Don't you agree, Robert? That happens so
No,
much.
I've never thought about it, but it does make sense. I mean, I've seen we don't deal with the hacked website cleanup, but we do the like we have our own plugins, and sometimes we get an email like, "Hi, I've been using, for example, double preactive to our plugin. We have version 5.4 coming up, and we have like someone like, hey, I've been using your version 3 plugin, which was like 3 years old at least. Like, can you send me that? Like, why are you still using that plugin?" And as you're saying, because they have some old software, something custom, something, and it's true whether you're hacked or not. Most probably you are spending much more resources trying to maintain that website running. So might as well, even if you are happy with the looks and feel of your website, get. I never thought about it this way. Get someone new, rebuild the website, even if it looks the same, but at least use the latest technology and use the latest stuff. It
True,
makes sense.
true,
It makes sense, especially if it's an old website. As you said, like you have some very old team, you don't have the original files.
true.
It's been hacked. Sometimes, I mean, like you can remove the injected malware, but sometimes it's a nightmare. You remove something else breaks off, something else. So yeah, it makes sense in this case, especially if it's a very old website and you have a lot of legacy code.
Very,
It makes
very,
sense.
very.
Go for something new. Actually, makes sense.
Exactly, exactly. And people don't realize that we always educate customers who come to us with hacks and repairs. Hey, we can do this. You're going to be spending money with us, maybe $199, $299, depending on the service. But you have this option. We recommend you do this because of this reason, of course. So I would say any freelancer, startup agency, whoever, if you come across situations like this, always educate your customers because we owe it uh, to the world to have a much better internet. And
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
safer, quite frankly, as well. Yeah. More safer.
exactly. We owe it to the world to do that. And I think you all should always educate. And coming on that, I've also noticed because we work with hundreds of agencies all over the world. We have a lot of agency resellers from the Netherlands also, by the way, Robert.
Nice.
And they use us and, for converting Figma to WordPress, converting websites, making websites from Elementor, Beaver Builder, Bricks Builders, you name it. Okay. Another thing which I realized, and I've seen this, which is very common, that people don't have a standardized stack of plugins. They, for every site, if they use a contact form, for example, biggest issue. Okay, now we speak with so many agencies and they don't care, they don't have a standardized stack or whatever. So we always educate our agency partners, and this is a message for all freelancers, startup agencies who are in the 5 to 20 customer kind of a range and about to dance with WordPress quite a lot, especially that they should 100% make at least a basic SOP, if not a very strong SOP, and have the standardized set of plugins in place. For example, SEO. Okay, we're going to use Yoast or all-in-one SEO or RankPad, whatever you choose, whatever you like, just fix it. If it's contact form, okay, we're going to use WP forms, whatever, or you want to use type form, your choice. But finalize it, lock it in, and whenever you make a website, there are few things you should install. A few things. I'm using this word limited plugins, and that will give your end users an incredible experience. like installing CAPTCHA to avoid spam or whatever. Just standardize the plugins. I
I think
think that's the big thing.
it's easier for you as an agency as well, no? Because you have
Yes.
if there's a problem, let's say you have
Mm.
20, 30, 40 websites. If there's a problem on one website, you can solve the same problem on the other websites. It's like it makes things much easier and much cheaper, quite frankly, as well.
It will also improve client trust and the turnaround time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it does.
it makes sense. So, in your opinion, you're talking as an agency that has the chance, the opportunity to get a customer and build a website for them. Do you recommend, like, if you onboard a customer with an existing website and they're using, let's say you have a standard set of plugins that you always use, do you recommend like helping them transitioning those plugins, or like would you support them at an extra cost? What are the best practice, let's say?
I would say, obviously, we always work on the staging website. We will create a copycat site and we will work on the new sites. My team is very educated. We have trained them over time to always educate a customer if something is very outdated or is not suitable for the site. Let me give you a classic example. We get a lot of scenarios where people have approached somebody on Fiverr. They got stuck. Their work cannot be completed now for whatever XYZ reasons, and they're wanting somebody to finish that work. Now, for whatever XYZ reasons, the Fiverr developer installed 10 plugins or 30 plugins or 50 plugins, which are completely useless because they did not have the expertise, or some other reason. So, in that case, we have to scratch either everything or most of it, and we have to educate the people to do that. And we come across these scenarios every single day. Let me give you an example. Speed up. Websites are slow.
Yeah.
Speeding up a website, classic example. Okay, there's so many people on Fiverr, Upwork, etc., promising speed ups, and usually what they do is just install one plugin, and but they don't do the paid versions, etc., or whatever the case might be. But it's not only like installing a speed up plugin; it's also some other things also attached to it. Maybe removing some very big video on the about us page, which is causing a delay, or the home page and stuff like that. So I think that, and that's what we do always, that we educate the client and the end user, and we give them rationale. And this is where AI can help you also, by the way, because if you go to ChatGPT and you tell ChatGPT that this is the scenario, I want to explain it to my client. ChatGPT can actually help you explain it to the client. And I think this is where we can talk about AI also a little bit later. But
Definitely.
my team is using AI to actually educate customers a lot, and is really helping everybody here.
Yeah, I think it's good that you're mentioning these points, especially educating the customer, because let's assume a common scenario. Someone has a shop, they have 4 people full time, they have no idea of technical expertise, they just have a website, and they go to an agency, maybe they lost the previous agency, or as you said, they work with Fiverr, with someone on Fiverr, or regardless on which platform they work with someone else, they're no longer available. There are two options here. You, as an agency, either accept them as they are, which is not recommended, because of course, as we said, you should have some sort of standard framework of number of plugins and stuff. But it's also, I think, it's the agency's responsibility to, because in most cases the customers do not know. Like if someone doesn't work in WordPress, if you go and tell them, listen, do you want gravity forms or the forms? Like, does it make a difference? Like, so it's very important, like for the agency to educate the customer. You're not expecting them to know everything about WordPress, but I think part of the onboarding process should be sitting down with the prospect or customer. And
I have done it. I've done it from the very first five or first 10 websites when I was working with a freelancer developer, because I'm not a developer, right? But I was using a freelance developer to build websites for my clients, right? And I have done it from day one because I understood the WordPress plugin ecosystem, and I knew, if you do too much of this or too much of that, it can actually harm. So I have always educated people, whether it's cookie compliances, whether it's something to do with ADA, you always educate. We come across another classic example in the US. HIPAA compliances are huge, especially if you're in the medical field. Some people know this, some people don't. Those who don't know this is a duty. And my customer success team, my VP of web ops, everybody, they know that, oh, it's a US healthcare business. They're not a HIPAA compliant website. Red alert. We need to educate them. We need to explain to them. Then it's their decision if they don't want to do it. But at least we need to educate them that your website is not HIPAA compliant. You need to be HIPAA compliant because you're starting up a medical practice in the state of California or whatever the case might be. So it's good to keep on learning, and it's very, very important. And by the way, you will also make more money by being affiliates of hosting partners or plugin companies, etc. So it's not only that you're recommending the right solution, but you'll also become evangelists of the plugin companies. For example, MilaPress would have an affiliate program, right?
Yeah,
And
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
exactly, and the right end user will use MailerPress plugin and they'll be happy. So you need to know what that plugin will benefit that company. Will it benefit that company? And you join affiliate programs, whether it's 20 or 50 or 200, but you should know, or you should have a list. We have a list, for example, and we recommend the right solution at the right time. And I would
Exactly.
recommend everybody to do that.
And I think by educating the customer, I think you're also setting, which is quite important. One of the biggest problems I see with agencies is expectations. Oh, we agreed on this, but didn't give us all the back and forth. And by educating the customer and having like clear terms and whatever you want to call them, but yeah, like this is how we work, this is what we use, this is I don't know, etc. I think it's at least the moving forward would be also much easier because the customer already knows what to expect and you already made it clear to them as well. So it's a win-win situation, right?
Yes, but it cannot in the services game versus a plugin or a SaaS game, it can never be 100%. It can
Def
be
I,
98, 99%. Now, there could be because there's a human touch involved in it. It's not like pressing a button, paying for $19 a month for software. There is
and
a
get a
human touch.
license and that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. Here, there's human touch. Clients will not be always happy. So you need to figure out a solution. And we come across this scenario every now and then because we build hundreds of websites every single month for our direct business and our partners. See, we got close to, I don't know, 5,000 plus Trustpilot reviews, Google reviews between ourselves and our partners,
Wow.
and maybe in those several thousand reviews, between our partners and Seahawk Media, over the past 5 or 6 years, we probably would have got maybe 3 or 4 one-star reviews. Now that's like less than 0.1%.
You can
Can't
never
keep
avoid it
everybody
100%. It's what it is. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, you can't keep everybody happy,
yeah.
but you can strive to be by trying to delight them as much as you can, but sometimes you have to put your foot down
Of
also.
course.
And yes, with AI, use ChatGPT, AI, for these things, for improving your terms and conditions, making really good pricing plans, published on your website, etc. If you can, in your contract, and explain to the client. My sales team, initially when we started this out, the sales team was Gautam alone. Now I
Yeah.
have a pretty good sales team in place. But they've been told to explain to the people. Okay, if you're choosing this package, you are entitled to 3 revision rounds. Now, 3 revision round means you can tell your success manager to do this per page 3 times. Sometimes if it's a fourth, we won't bill you extra. So don't worry about it. But if it's a fifth, we might have to bill you extra. They tell them,
Mm.
they explain to them. By telling them, we have reduced our, any negative kind of
Just correct.
situations. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we always reinforce this over and over again.
of
One
course.
example.
You mentioned like when you have kind of like problems, you put your foot. I think this is a common problem with agencies, like
Yes,
especially in the
huge.
beginning. Sometimes, like you have a customer, you've already invested a certain amount of days with them, and you're just
Yes.
like listen, I cannot. You'd like to get rid of them, like to get them out as soon as possible. It happens, unfortunately, and but yeah, you're like stuck in between. Like, listen, I've already invested a month. Now I'm either going to lose this month of work or keep on pushing and maybe how do you because you put your foot down usually like if you had your I mean you have your own engine, but if you're just still starting on your like would you do you think now in hindsight having all this experience would you throw away a month's work and kind of like move on, or would you try to save that? Like, how far would you go to try to save that deal and save some money?
I'll address this. I'll address this. Now, here's the fun part. Okay, many times a project does not move forward for months, weeks, or months. Maybe 1+ year because the client are not responsive. Biggest scenario. Okay, so what we do is we have in our SOP a follow-up system. So we follow up with the client every 3 days. We will follow up for up to a period of I think 6 or 8 weeks, and even then we do not get the necessary responses. We send the finalized email. Hey, this project is not moving forward because we've approached you in the past 2 months so many times, and if you wish to continue this more, you will have to pay a reinitiation fee of 50%. The moment we do that, people get scared and they no, 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 I was on vacation or whatever the situation, and they move the project forward. In certain cases, people are not happy. The end user is not happy for whatever reason. They did not like the design, several rounds of revisions, whatever the case. There could be so many combinations. So we say, okay, there are two outcomes because we've done this much work. Either we can offer you a partial refund, which is fine, and I think that's fair. And usually it's 50%, but in certain cases could be 60 or 70% refund to the client also. Because you don't want to damage your reputation, and you want to. In the long run, it doesn't make sense because if you especially want to be a 7-figure agency, and you want to really grow your revenues exponentially, you want references. So I think partial refund is a good solution, but it doesn't come to that if you keep on following up with the follow-up SOP, protocol, and have a very strong messaging in your contract. And like I mentioned, it takes few minutes for ChatGPT to draft a very strong contract to get it signed, and you can remind the client, hey, you signed it. It mentions very clearly, and don't make it a very messy contract. It can have 10 or 15 bullet points. We also have that very clearly mentioned. It clearly mentions 50% reinitiation fee if you don't respond to us even after 6 times or 8 times of following up, etc. And you can avoid a lot of situations like now we do so many websites. We do site optimization. We do dev hours, for customers from all over the world, and that's how we have, kind of like plugged it, these kind of
Interesting.
situations.
We use something similar. We're not an agent, but we use something similar. I always speak to my team as the support, especially like if sometimes someone reports a problem, for example, we tell, okay, we're going to look into it. Like sometimes some problem, it depends on the release cycle and stuff. It can take more than 8-10 days or 2 weeks, for example. And I tell them, like, listen, don't leave the customer hanging. Go back to them after 2 days. Listen, we are still looking into this. Please bear with us, etc., etc. And our estimation is this date. But you are keeping. I wouldn't say you put the ball in their court, but you are keeping the customer informed, because when you leave people hanging, I've worked in the past, especially when I was on my own, still starting, like similar to you, by the way. I mean, I can write and read code, but I'm not a developer, far from it. So I always worked with freelancers and but yeah, like I've worked in the past with agencies where like you give them a deposit, for example, they vanish, you try to send them money, and after a month, oh, we have this design. Like, no, like after a month, like, why didn't you come before and tell me, listen, we're planning this? So maybe that's a good tip as well. Like, listen, if you have, especially, I think during all stages, once there are prospects, also while working on the project, it is very important to touch base every few days. And because as you said, like you set the expectations. If there are questions.
But again, there could be sometimes just some rude customers, and it happens all the time. You can't help it.
Listen, you can't keep everyone happy. It's what it is. You can't keep everyone happy. Like I remember when when we developed W2FA, we were happy because we had the Diffree plugin. In just a few months, we had 49 5-star reviews on WordPress.org. It's like, yes, we're waiting for the 50, and the 58th one was a 1-star review, and it's like it wasn't even valid, because if it was valid, our fault would say we screwed it. It's our fault. But it was something
I know
stupid. Like, so you can never do it, of course, but by doing so, as you're saying, I think it's a very good tip for agencies.
You can also if you have really messed up sometimes, you delayed something for what your fault as an agency, you delayed a project and it is your fault. You owe up to it.
Exactly.
Then you should offer a discount, or you can offer a free service. Happened to us, sometimes. And what we did is like, okay, after the website, we're going to do a free one-time SEO foundation service. Usually we sell it for $500. We'll do it on the house. It's very rare. It happened to us, but
It can
for
happen.
whatever,
Yeah.
it can happen. And we went over the mile, and we said, okay, cool, we're going to do this for you. And and the client was happy because,
Mm.
okay, we miscalculated the timeline. I think expectation setting is also very important, especially when it comes to delivering websites, because it's my initial days, we really messed up there. We really messed up. We said 6 weeks and we could not deliver for 12 weeks. We miscalculated plugin integrations or some API stuff or whatever scenarios with WooCommerce. So I think expectation settings is very important. If you know it's a 10-page build, you can do it comfortably in 3 weeks, say 5 weeks, and deliver in two. Clients will be very happy about it.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And expectation, I think, as you said, like expectations and also being honest. I think there's no, I mean, everyone makes mistakes, even we do every agency, even us. I think there's nothing better than, listen, hey, listen, we made a mistake, provide you a refund or whatever, or we'll send you a patch ASAP or whatever. But yeah, it's normal. Everyone makes mistakes. You've been mentioning AI, and a few weeks ago, Gordon, you were on the Ethereum Summit, right? We talked about
Yes,
AI.
yes, I
Interesting.
was. Yes,
Yeah,
I was.
so I've watched snippets from it because I was also on the summit on another panel about security. Yeah, you, we also use AI. I think we use AI a lot for a lot of different things. Maybe do you want to give us, because of course, as you said, especially if you are just starting as an agency, maybe you are on your own or just two people. It's hard, especially with budgets and growing. How can, like, where does AI help, for example, and like what are like your top three recommendations where you can use AI, and what are maybe also the top three mistakes that agencies do and overuse AI, and they shouldn't be using AI for X, Y, and Z.
So now there's so many solutions. Like you just give commands and the website is ready. Not WordPress also. For example, Lovable. Everybody's talking about it also. You give commands and the website is ready. WordPress has AI. Elementor has, text to AI. But still you need to, do some work. You need to still check the copy, etc. Use AI. I would say use it as much as you can, but it should not be blatant, copy pasting and stuff like that, because you Google will penalize you in SEO or content or some other way around it, and people just get to know. Also, it's just not the real experience. Let me give you an example. Okay, you want to launch a website, uh abelashealthycookies.com, whatever. Okay, and it's a 10-page website and you want it done and you don't have a very strong budget. Okay, now you can do it on your own with WordPress AI, Elementor AI, so many kinds of AI in this ecosystem. And yes, you should do it also. But you need to still, plug it to your domain. You need to still buy the relevant hosting. You need to still launch it, install the relevant plugin, make sure the contact form is working, etc. But you can save a lot of time by using AI rather than using a developer for it. Now, as an agency, my team, okay, we are using AI for content. Oh, sorry, let me go back a step. Okay, my sales team is actually using AI for making much professional quotes also. We get queries, weird queries all the time, and because of AI, my sales team is actually able to create much better proposals, stronger proposals, because sometimes you just out of your memory you can't think of 5 plugins or 6 plugins, but with ChatGPT or Google Gemini, you can actually get a lot of support like that. Okay, so
So I think Gautam got disconnected. There you go. Give me a second. Gautam, you got a bit disconnected. Maybe you can for the
go
last.
back. I'll go back.
Yeah,
I'll go back 1 second. I'll go back 5 to
just
10 seconds.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You started with sales using AI for better proposals. Yeah.
Yeah, so your sales team can use AI. If you are the only person selling, you can create much better proposals. All you need is Google Doc with your logo, and then whatever the query is, you can tell AI to improve, make a much stronger proposal with terms of conditions, etc. So use AI for that. It actually makes a very good experience, because especially as a freelancer and or a small agency, like when I was like a freelancer or a small agency startup, I didn't know how to make contracts and stuff like that. I didn't have Chat GPT, so I had to drop whatever I could to the best of my ability, right? But now, thanks to AI, like our team is able to do that in a much better way. They're not dependent on me especially or other people. So but human review is obviously very important. Over reliance is not good. And I think when it comes to developers, like, it really does help with deep code reviews, but you can't automate it. It can help you with security audits, but to some extent it can save you a lot of time. I mentioned about time, so it can definitely save you a lot of time. AI cannot help you with strategic thinking or site performance or UX to a lot of extent. It cannot help you with troubleshooting as of now. I think, maybe it does in the near future. It cannot help you with client relationship and trust building, but it can save you a lot of time in a lot of ways. And we use it in every scenario, every day, to the best of our ability. But you know over reliance is not a good idea,
Mm.
especially if you're thinking long term, especially if you want to build a strong agency, a big agency.
Yeah, yeah. I think we it's a very good point, Ismish. Like completely relying on it is not good, and copy and paste is not good either. And we do the same. I think there's a difference between using AI as a tool to help you automate some things, and maybe even like to brainstorm. Because sometimes, like, maybe you're writing an article. Um, okay, writing an article, I don't know, the top 10 tips about WordPress security, for example. You write them, but maybe it's good to check with AI, like, listen, what are the typical top 10 tips people are mentioning? So you can maybe, oh, you missed a point, or maybe you think another point is more important. So copy and paste is not good, but using it as a tool, it's helping you do much more. As you said, like, to write maybe some proposals, you don't need lawyers
Just
and
like your
lawyers.
example, like for
Yeah.
example, in your case, Abela's cookies. Okay, I want to
Mm.
launch this abelashealthycookies.com. If I were to, do something, I would probably use it for wireframing. I will use AI for wireframing, come up with the idea, but I will not create a website. I will show you, if you're a prospect for me, I will show you a beautifully crafted wireframe within few hours, make it part of a proposal, and send you a $20,000 proposal. Okay,
And then
something
exactly,
like
and then
that.
you build it, but it's much faster instead of taking a week or two building a proposal and reviewing it and doing
Wireframing.
this.
Now we work on the wireframing. You approve the proposal, and then I can find a very good designer, designer, and get a design approved from you, and then build out the website. Now, there's something for everybody. If you have $1,000 budget, you can use AI. If you have $100,000 budget, you can use AI. So
Exactly.
you need to think like that. You need to smart about
Yeah, you need to be also, like, you need to be smart how to use it, of course. Because, like, I've
it.
seen it last time I heard Oliver Silt from Peshtech was he said, like, they even found, like, customers with security plugins, as in, like, written from AI, as in, like, not non-security plugins. People are going to AI, like, write me a security plugin for WordPress, and they say, like, and the problem with these things, I saw a meme lately on LinkedIn which says something like, because we're seeing a lot of these messages like, you don't need to be a developer anymore, you don't need developers anymore, like, you can use AI. But it's a bit short-sighted, because, and then the meme was something like, okay, maybe you don't need developers, but if you are building some application with AI, okay, and using it for production, the day something goes wrong and someone has to debug it, who's going to debug this thing, so
And it can be annoying also in certain cases. For example, nowadays, AI, if you go on any website, there are chatbots. Okay.
mm,
Now, most of the companies, especially in the SaaS ecosystem, they're using chatbots, and it's all configured with AI,
yeah.
preset questions, etc. I find it really annoying. Now, if
I
I go
find,
on a site,
I hate it. I hate it.
oh, so it's like
You have
it's
to
the
go
same
through a
thing.
certain number of sequence until, can I speak to an agent, and then they allow.
It is you go on a live chat because you don't want a representative on the phone talk. Press one for this, press two for this, press three for this. That's why on Seahawk Media, like my own site, I have live chat, I have a team, I have a roster. I refuse to deploy AI. If none of them is available, I'll just have a form. I
Yeah,
just have a form.
yeah,
I think things like that. You need to be thinking like that. Now,
yeah.
SaaS companies, plugin companies in the WordPress ecosystem, like, I implore you all, please get rid of chatbot AI. It's
Yeah.
so annoying.
Yes. Use chatbot for the knowledge base, maybe, and the search to improve the search and
Yes,
recommendations.
yes,
But for the
yes.
chat, I'm the same. Like, don't. Sometimes you end up. I forgot which service I was using last time, and I really desperately needed to talk to a support agent. I asked, like, first I asked this question. I didn't realize it's an automated chatbot. I got an answer. Okay, it's chatbot. I kept on questioning until I think like 10, 12 questions like, oh, shall I connect you to an yes, please, like right now. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
I know, I know.
It's question about Seahawk, because you have a very interesting model. You have your own clients, direct clients, but you also provide white labeling services for
True,
agencies, which is very interesting.
true.
Like if you had a bit of a tricky question, if you had an agency yourself, starting yourself nowadays, you're a one-person agency, you're just starting, would you choose, like, why should one choose a white labeling service and not build an in-house team for them or an in-house?
Because I think the biggest reason is you can save time and internal resources, and you can focus on what you do best. See, when you're starting out, you need dollars in the bank, okay?
Always. Yes.
And always, and now if you're focused on hiring people, monitoring their work and stuff like that, but if you find a good partner, you know, and you have to pay that partner, let's say 20 or 30% extra versus hiring somebody internally, which is also not proven because you cannot quantify hours less or more. It's very hard to say that. It just makes sense because you can just focus on, getting more and more clients and making sure, grow on growth of your business, and not worry about turnaround time and stuff like that. We work with hundreds and hundreds of agencies. We were not equipped to do that till about 2.5 years ago, I would say, but I'm proud to say my first ever agency reseller customer is still with us,
Nice.
and we are managing over, I would say, 40 websites for her, and based in LA, and she swears by us, and she's been able to grow her business, and thanks to Seahawk Media, and so we have so many agency, who use us all the time. Of course, we don't do PPC, we don't do social media management, so sometimes you might have to do something on your own, or find somebody else. So that's fine. You can have two partners, to do that, and I think white labeling it does make sense. And then there's deep white labeling, because if you can give the necessary volume, then we can also interact with your customers. You don't even have to look at project management yet, you know
Mm,
and that's what we're doing with a couple of bigger partners, and some hosting companies whom we work with, who give us very strong volume. We have dedicated resources, dedicated people. All what they do is get dollars in the bank, and we invoice them at the end of the month for our fair share, and that's about it.
nice.
So it makes
Nice.
sense.
What made you kind of like switch? I mean, you didn't switch full, but what made you kind of like start recruiting those as in like the agency and the white labeling? What made you add that service, and not just service the customers directly?
See, I'll tell you what, our business is both retail, which is B2C, and B2B.
Mm,
Okay. And I want to continue to grow both exponentially equally. Okay.
okay,
In fact, all I can say right now is our revenue is also 50-50 roughly. Okay.
nice.
And I'm very happy about that, because in one case, the margins are high. In one cases, the margins are not high. Okay. And it's fine because the average works out. But in one case, the volume is consistent and it's growing with very few customers. Okay. So it's important to have both. And you never know in this ecosystem if something happens to some agency, some reseller, or some partner, they go away. So it's important to have both. My recommendation is for anybody starting out, no matter how small, how big, or whatever the case might be. And if you want to go into white labeling, like, always, expand, always think beyond the horizons, not only think locally, think as much, as big as possible. If you're thinking of doing only websites, and but you know how to manage Shopify, you don't know how to manage WordPress, find a partner for WordPress, continue to build Shopify websites on your own, offer both. That's what I
Nice.
would say. I would say that I would 100% say that if you are strong in UI UX and you can't build a website, focus on UI UX. Hire a person for UI UX. Hire 10 people for UI UX as you grow. We work with a couple of agencies who are only UI UX agencies, and they give all of their development work to us. They were not even entertaining development till the time they met Seahawk Media. Proud to say that, because they didn't find a good partner to convert Figma to WordPress near Pixel Perfect or Pixel Perfect, and obviously at the right price, because they obviously had to keep a margin. So you can always have an equation, maybe some people internally and outsource to the right partner. and we get those scenarios all the time too.
It makes a lot of sense actually for AJ, especially if you're starting. It makes a lot of sense. Everyone has kind of like one thing that they are better at than all the other things. So it makes sense. Like you can keep on specializing.
And
If
Seahawk,
you get a
and
design, focus on design, and then outsource it, so you don't
yeah,
have to spend resources and manage a team. And just it makes a lot of sense actually.
and
A lot.
Seahawk Media historically, we have never, and we don't intend to ever do like a monthly fixed retainer or anything like that if you don't want to, because we don't want anybody to have obligations or be stressed.
Of course.
So I think we're a pretty good partner for a lot of B2B businesses,
Nice.
and hope to continue to do that for a really long time.
Gautam, thanks a lot. There's so much more we can discuss. There's so much more we
I
can talk
know.
about. We'll definitely get you back again for sure. Um, Before we close, is there something you'd like to mention, maybe, or some particular?
All I would definitely say, if you're starting out in the agency ecosystem, you're a small agency with 2 or 3 employees, it's all okay. I know how hard it is, how hard the hustle can be. You just need to keep going. My friends all over the world listening to this, you need to keep going. You need to keep pushing hard and get into events. There are so many events all over the world. WordCamps is a very good start if you're in the WordPress ecosystem, etc. They really give you a perspective. You know, I never did that, and I will finally say that one of my biggest customers I met at a WordCamp right before COVID in Boston, and they're still my largest customer. So you never know. You just
Yes.
never know.
Yes, I think people, the grind is hard. I think people easily they give up because they think they're not doing well. I listen to a lot of podcasts on self-development and stuff, and one of the most common things, like sometimes, like it's just about showing up every day. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to be hard, but by showing up every day, not giving up, it's what success is at the end of the day. Thanks. So
Yes.
yeah, at WordCamp, I agree. Like I have business connections, and I also have friends which I've done at WordCamp, and I'll be seeing you at WordCamp Europe, right?
Yes, I am. I'm seeing you in a month from now. See you soon.
Exactly.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, Gautam.
Thank
Just a
you.
quick
Thank you for
reminder.
having me.
Thanks. A quick reminder for everyone. We'll do this every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central European time. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, Gautam.
Bye.
Thanks. Thanks.